This video is sponsored by Alcid eHomes, whose mission it is to accelerate the advent of sustainable, healthy living systems around the world. Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So, we know that Tesla will grow very fast. As we can see, they are already doing beyond what anyone else thought was possible. But how fast will the EV market grow? Can the EV market keep up with Tesla's insane growth rate? And if it can, where will this leave the car market in 5 years' time? Well, let's talk a little bit about this and let's dive right in. So in 2020, 3.24 million EVs were sold. Yes, that includes plug-in hybrid, but that doesn't really matter because they will slowly be phased out as pure BEVs will get cheaper and better, and everyone will realize how stupid it is to have an EV with an ICE engine you have to make service on. But they are part of the switch, and I think most people that are buying a hybrid will buy an EV the next time, and they will eventually be phased out and the plug-in market will become pure BEVs. But let's just use the numbers we have from the plug-in market today. So 3.24 million in 2020, and Tesla sold 500,000, so they had about 15.5% of the global plug-in market share in 2020. But someone like Gordon Johnson continues to talk about, but Tesla is losing market share. Yes, as more EVs comes to market, Tesla will lose market share, but this is not a problem to lose market share as long as you are growing. But as we know, we have had a 168% increase in EVs sold in the first half of 2021. But this is a little misleading as the first half of 2020 was very low, so we'll probably not have 168% growth in the second half of 2021, but we will probably have something like 100% growth in the whole year of 2021, so about 6.5 million EVs sold. And Tesla is on the way to deliver something like 850 to 900,000. So let's just use 875,000 to make this very simple. So that will mean that Tesla will have about 13.5% of the EV market. So Tesla's market share will drop 2%. Oh no, what a disaster! No, wait a minute. They just grew 75% in 2021. How is this a bad thing? Well, I really don't know. You have to ask Gordon. He's the only person on the planet that thinks that growing your business about 75% is a bad thing. But let's just make a little check here, because many people don't believe the transition to EVs will happen in an S-curve, as I have been talking about many times before. But here in 2021, we are looking at something like 100% growth. So what will happen next year? As even more EV model comes out and every automaker is trying to ramp up EV production, are we looking at another 100% in growth? Well, maybe, but let's just say that will not happen and say maybe 50% growth from the 6.5 million in 2021. So that will get us close to 10 million EVs already next year. So let's just use 10 million because that is a nice number to work with. But what will Tesla be selling by 2022? Well, they have 2 new factories up and running that are bigger and more efficient than what they have today. So can they do another 75% growth again? I think that is an almost certain yes. I believe they could do 100% next year if everything goes right, so about 1.8 million cars in 2022. But let's be a little conservative and say 1.6 million. But if the EV market only grows to 10 million EVs in 2022, that would mean that Tesla would have about 16% market share in 2022. So Tesla going to grow faster than the EV market? Maybe. Maybe not, but 10 million EVs in 2022 is pretty much spot on what I had in my video where we just put this S-curve in this chart over the next decade. But as I said, this is not even a steep S-curve. So will the market grow even faster? Well, the Chinese are definitely not slowing down. In 2020, they had 1.3 million EVs sold in China, and in the first half of 2021, 1.1 million EVs were sold in mainland China, accounting for 12% of all passenger cars sold there, so also above the famous 10% tipping point. But now we're going into the two biggest quarter when it comes to automotive sales, so we should see at least the same numbers for the second half of the year. So China alone could do 2.2 million EVs in 2021, so that would be a growth of 40% from 2020. And they only grew about 8% in 2020, so China is really starting to ramp up as well. And so is the EV market in Europe. Last year we were already at 10% EV market share, but in the first half of 2021 we are at 15% market share. Their adoption curve is really steep, so 10 million in 2022, too low of a target? And where does the EV market need to be before Tesla loses market share in 2022 and Tesla doesn't outgrow the EV market? Well, if the EV market is only going to be 10 million in 2022, Tesla will grow in market share. And that does seem kind of crazy that Tesla will be able to do that with everyone scaling up EV production and new players coming into the game and so on. But I do believe we are going to be pretty close to the 875,000 deliveries in 2021 and the 1.8 million in 2022, because we know the run rate of Giga Shanghai is already over 530,000, so they will get to about 600,000 in 2022, and that is what the Fremont does as well, so that will be 1.2 million, those two factories alone. And then we only need the two new, bigger and more efficient factories to produce about 300,000 each to get to 1.8 million. And remember, it did not take China much more than a year to get to a run rate over 350,000. So Texas, with an even faster Model Y to produce, and the Cybertruck that is probably even faster to produce again, but maybe a little more growing pains because of totally untested production with stainless steel and so on. But to think that Texas will not be able to at least do 300,000 Model Ys and Cybertrucks in 2022 combined is kind of crazy to me. So I really truly believe 1.8 million in 2022 is very possible. So the EV market needs to get to at least 14 million EVs for Tesla not just to stay at the 13.5% market share. And I do believe Tesla will be able to get to 2.7 million cars in 2023, but then the EV market needs to be over 20 million for Tesla to lose market share. So either Tesla is growing so fast they outgrow the market and we will see them gain market share, or the market is going to grow much faster than we expect, more in terms of what Cathie Wood expects. She is saying 40 million by 2025, and she is talking about pure BEVs here. That will apply 120% compound annual growth rate, because if we only give the EV market a 50% growth and not the 120% growth Cathie Wood thinks, we will still end up with almost 33 million EVs in 2025. And I know people think, but Lars, the switch to EVs are not disruptive. It's just a car switching from gasoline to electricity, and that's not disruptive. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. Firstly, EVs are much more fun to drive as well, but they also last a lot longer. So for fleet operators especially, EVs are already today cheaper. That is why Amazon has already ordered 100,000 electric vans from Rivian, and why Pepsi is still waiting on their big order from Tesla semi-trucks. But the price for normal EVs for you and I will also become much cheaper than ICE cars. So this is also a big catalyst, and the fuel of the car is already cheaper, but that will also continue to go down as more renewables become part of the mix. Also, it is much more convenient to have an EV with almost no maintenance. Can fill it up at your home or at your hotel on a road trip. Also a catalyst, but we also see the computer on wheels happening at the same time. Cars are going through the same thing as the smartphone did. There is a big difference between computer on wheels and an electric car. Soon, no one will buy a nice car in the near future based on that simple fact that it will not get an over-the-air update, and it will have already outdated software when you buy it. The more people that experience the software on wheels, the more people will never buy an ICE car again. So there are so many innovations here that will make the EV revolution take off as a disruptive technology, because this is so beyond just a switch from ICE to EVs. This is just a little part of this big switch. But then we have the real big kicker that will turn everything on its head. full self-driving, of course. Tony Seba, as you're probably familiar with, says when we will have full self-driving car, the fleet size will drop by 80%. But maybe not that much, because suddenly everyone that could not get a car before will be able to get a car, like blind people or disabled people or very old people and so on. So maybe the fleet will not go down by 80% as Tony says, but maybe it will. I really don't know, but let's just say it will only be cut in half, go down 50%. And then even if we don't go with Kathy's numbers, but just say 50% growth rate, where we end up with 33 million EVs by 2025, well, if we also have full self-driving cars from Tesla by then, and new car sales are pretty much the same as today, about 70 million vehicles, well, if we cut that in half, we are at about 35 million. Only 2 million from the EV fleet size in 2025. And when, not if, but when Tesla solve full self-driving, if the others don't want to give the whole market to Tesla, they will probably have to buy the full self-driving software from Tesla. So even though they have not solved the full self-driving, everyone else will still be able to get full self-driving computers and software from Tesla, and therefore a lot of the new cars in 2025 and going forward could have full self-driving software. And then the big disruption will happen like crazy fast, something we have never seen before, because then in 2025 we are almost already producing the amount of EVs per year the whole car industry will need when they are full self-driving, about 35 million. But the crazy thing is, even if we are at 35 million in 2025, 13.5% of that market share is only 4.75 million. And I do believe Tesla will be able to produce more cars than that in 2025. So even though it sounds crazy that Tesla would grow in market share in the EV market, that is kind of what it seems like if the EV market only grows by 50% year over year. And if we go with the 40 million EVs, 13.5% of that would be 5.4 million. And I do think that is possible for Tesla to do. So even with 40 million EVs in 2025, which most people think is crazy, Tesla could still have 13.5% market share and don't shrink in market share. This seems kind of crazy. So maybe Kathy Wood is right here, and we will be at 40 million in 2025 if the EV market will grow as fast as Tesla. Or maybe Tesla will grow even faster than the market and will gain market share, even with all this competition coming. And with full self-driving in the mix, we could be much closer to the point where all new cars we need are electric. So maybe this S-curve I made in another video is not so crazy after all, but what do you think? I really would like to hear how fast you think this is going to happen. Will it be 40 million EVs in 2025 or 30 or 20? What do you think? Will Tesla grow faster than the market and therefore gain market share, or will it be slower, or will both Tesla and the market grow slower than we're talking about here? And will full self-driving be a thing by 2025? And if so, to what degree do you think that will shrink our car market? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.